I don't think the band would still exist if it wasn't for the fact that Shannon and I are brothers. And I'm not sure our relationship would be the same if we didn't have the band. So it's been a blessing for both of us.
I really like the way that the band has been evolving in these 20 years. I mean, you used to take this 4 or 5 years time period for each album, but I feel like this is as well like a new chapters. You know, like every album did something different, like a new era, and I can feel it in this new album.
Yeah, it is. You know, when you take 4 or 5 years between songs, you change a lot. You grow a lot. Your tastes change, your interests. And, you know, my brother and I were always interested in a lot of different types of music. I mean, growing up, we loved Led Zeppelin. We loved The Doors, The Who. We loved, he loved heavy metal, Metallica. But we also loved Depeche Mode. We loved The Cure. I loved New Wave. I loved punk. I loved, you know, my brother and I used to love Sade. You know, Sade is so great, right? Or Bob Marley. You know, a lot of different types of music. So for us, it's experimenting and evolving is like really important to us. And, you know, you piss some people off, but I think that's okay.
I mean, but I think that the most important thing is to be true to you and to the project and what you want to reflect and be known. And
yeah.
I mean that's something amazing. And I understand that you had like 200 songs going to the studio for this new album. How was that process? I mean, it's a lot of songs.
It's a lot of songs. This album was born into the early days of COVID, and we really took our time. And we wanted to, you know, really push ourselves to do the best work we could. And there were a lot of songs. But, you know, it's funny. I've always wanted to make an album and then make an album very quickly. And I always promise myself I'm going to do that, and I never do. But this time I'm going to do it. My brother and I, you know, we're already thinking about, like, what would be next. And it's exciting to think about that already, yeah.
Yeah. It's the end of the world, but I mean, I like the title of the album because of the duality. So how, and of course, it really feels like it was kind of inspiring by COVID, but as well for what it's happening around the world right now with wars, conflicts, and. But I like the reflection that, okay, you can't control that. It's not in our hands, but at the end of the day, you can control your day-to-day and take nothing for granted.
Yeah, I wish that the album title would go out of style, but it doesn't. You know, I keep waiting for the world to get a little less crazy. But, you know, the thing that I do like about the album title and the album in general is that there's a sense of optimism, there's a sense of hope, there's a sense of celebration, there's a sense of nostalgia and joy and reflection. And I think I like to have songs like that. It's like we have a song called Life is Beautiful. It's so great to have a song called Life is Beautiful. Our new single Seasons, you know, is a very nostalgic song, gives me a very warm feeling. And in the world we're living in, you know, I've in the past turned to music in times of need and times of desperation. And, you know, music's been a real, you know, safety net for me.
Yeah, and I mean, in order to find the good, you need to be or feel the dark or be in the dark places. And I want to ask you about that process for you in order to find that light or that optimism. Were you in a complicated situation or in a bad place in order to get to that, or it was just like observation from everything what is happening?
I think it was a combination, but you know, the world is in such a unique place. You know, it's easy to see the darkness, but it's also, you know, the beauty's still there. And The hope is still there. And I try to stay focused on that, especially as I've gotten a little older. I like to try to stay optimistic. But this is a very different album for us. Our tour we just launched actually a couple days ago is called Seasons World Tour, named after our song Seasons, which is our brand new single. And getting back on the road after, it'll be 6 years by the time we really get on tour. It's a long time, and my brother and I are really excited about that. Yeah.
We saw you climbing every kind of buildings and all that stuff. How did you get into climbing? And I run, and I like to run because it's something that takes me off screens and let me think about and reflecting about other stuff. So I want to ask about that process too. How did you go into climbing, and how does that make you feel? Or how does that
the
make
same for
you?
me? It takes me away from some of the the stresses of everyday life, gets me away from my phone, from the computer. And when you're climbing, you're just kind of forced into the moment, and that's a beautiful place to be. But I love it. I discovered, I've always been interested in the outdoors and the wilderness, and I've always loved to climb around, but I didn't really learn to climb until 2015. I made a documentary about climbing, and it was a magical time. I met all of these incredible adventurers, and just started to kind of take that first step, and eventually ended up climbing on the Empire State Building, and it was a blast.
It was amazing for the experience. And I love as well the relation that you have with your brother. So I want to ask about for you, what is the best thing to have a brother?
Well, I think the best thing in terms of the band is that, we have that extra commitment to each other. I don't think the band would still exist if it wasn't for the fact that Shannon and I are brothers. And I'm not sure our relationship would be the same if we didn't have the band. So it's been a blessing for both of us. And, not always easy, but as we've gotten a little more mature, it's just a beautiful thing to share this with your family.
Yeah, and I really love it because, you're growing up sharing music, sharing tastes, and now sharing the grinding and the success as well, and the good moments and the bad moments and the stressful moments. Be together as a family. It's Thanksgiving in a few days, so that's what I was reflecting on that. I feel very fortunate that we get to do it together. Finally, do you remember the first record that you bought when you were kids?
Yeah, I bought 2 singles. I bought Journey, Don't Stop Believing, and Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll.
Man, that's great.
And I just walked by Journey. They were playing in Las Vegas, where we were playing at the F1 show. And I walked by this band. I was like, who? I walked by. I didn't really see them, but I was like, oh, what band is that? Someone said Journey. I was like, oh my God, that's incredible. I love them so much.
Sweet. Well, Seasons is the new single of the album. Can you share us a little bit the inspiration and the story of how you built that song in order to get this final version of it?
Yeah, Seasons is a very different song for us. It's a celebratory song. It's a nostalgic song. It really makes me think about the summer I had, or, the year that I had. It's a reflective song for me in a lot of ways. And it's very different. It's nice to have different songs in a set. It makes the other songs stand out and be more special. And it just adds a lot of diversity, a lot of contrast to the set. So yeah, I'm excited for people to hear it and to keep sharing it with the world.
That's great. Finally, and it's something that it really resonates to me, because when you say 30 Seconds to Mars, people tend to believe that it's a rock band, and it is in some kind, but as well, you always bring another instruments, rhythms, guitars, arrangers. So how could you describe and how do you feel that?
Well, I think at its core, you know, people wouldn't be wrong to say 30 Seconds to Mars is a rock band. We've made a lot of rock music, and that's been a pillar for us. But we've explored a lot of electronic music. We explored all kinds of different music, orchestral, kind of instrumental music, cinematic music. And, you know, if people think that we're only a hard rock band, then they just really haven't listened to our music. Because on every album, there are songs, even on the very first album, that have more in common with other types of music than they do hard rock. So sometimes when people might be mistaken, you know, yeah.
And they will be missing a lot of the other stuff that you do. So yeah. So
but you know, we're just happy to be here.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Brother.
It's been a pleasure to talk with you again. And well, we're gonna really have a very good time tonight with you.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great. Yeah.